Hi there, it's Nicole, and today I have a Thoughts and Prayers card featuring critters. All of the stamps and dies here are from Mama Elephant, and this was just kind of more of a challenge to myself to use something other than florals for a sympathy style card. I'm going to start by stamping the images I'm going to use for my card on smooth white cardstock and coloring them in with Copic markers. I've listed the colors of markers I'm using across the top of the screen. The images here are all from Dandelion Wishes. You might notice that I did use 2 squirrels, and I'm actually going to end up only using the one. It worked better for the design. I originally had not kind of thought out, I guess, what I wanted to use for my frame or the background. I knew I kind of was going to stamp like this striped background, but I did not necessarily think I would use the frame to start with. And once I got to that point in the card creation, I felt like it needed a little something else. So that's why I limited the critters I'm going to use, because I feel like it fits a little bit better. We're going to move on to the bunny now, colored with some earth tone Copic markers in E40, 43, and 44. The 44 is used extremely sparingly. A little R00 for the cheek. Color in the little bunny tail, and this is the bunny we're going to use. I'm actually not going to use the other one there, even though you're going to see me color it. I did tuck this inside my stamp envelope where I keep my stamp and dies for this set, because this could be used for another card project some other time. If I have stamped and colored something like this and I end up not using it, I always save these pieces because they will always find a way onto a future project. And it's just, I hate to throw anything like this away. I even think this guy would probably be cute now that I'm thinking about it. Maybe even on the inside of the card, where you could either stamp an additional sentiment or where you handwrite your sentiment. I think it would be cute on the inside. So I may even go back and add him a little bit later. The top of the mushroom is in our 35, 37, and 39. We're going to use a little yellow, red 24 and 27 for the base of this mushroom. I kept the colors, other than the top one here that's red, pretty neutral for the most part throughout the card. Little touches of yellow or yellow-red and a little bit of red add that pop of color, but everything else is very neutral. So let's color in. The greenery was all in some really pretty green shades, some of my favorites there. And then some yellow reds for the top of the last mushroom, some browns for the base. I did color in the little dandelions that they're all holding or blowing with some yellow, even though there's not really anything to color. And then the bumblebee, very, very easy coloring with a little bit of yellows and some grays, little blue violets for the wings. Pretty minimal. And then we're going to die cut everything with the coordinating dies. Next, let's work on the background. I've got a piece of smooth white cardstock here, and I also have this really pretty Mama Elephant pigment ink in a very, very light gray shade. We want to do a tone on tone. And my favorite way to do this, to create my own custom like watercolor looking stripes background, is with the Mama Elephant Brush Strokes stamp set. It's got 2 long borders in this stamp set, and they are fantastic for creating a striped watercolor looking background. Like you took a paintbrush and painted them, but without actually having to get water out or anything like that. I love this. Pigment inks are a fantastic choice for solid stamped images. They tend to give a little bit better coverage than a dye ink, and I'm able to use acrylic blocks for that. You could do this with a dye ink, definitely. My issue with that usually is that I need to stamp it more than once, and it's hard to line up more than once with an acrylic block, so I have to use a stamp positioner, and it's just a little bit more work. I've definitely done that before, so no, depending on what kind of ink you have, you can choose to kind of do it however you want. Another good choice if you don't have Mama Elephant pigment inks would be maybe Distress Oxide inks. They do have pigment ink in them, and I've done them with this technique before, and it works really well. So we're going to lay out the images. This is kind of where I'm deciding what I'm going to keep, what I'm not going to use on the card. I'm using sentiments from the Mama Elephant Blessed stamp set. It's going to read, "You are in my thoughts and prayers." The word prayers I'm going to stamp with a little bit darker color of Mama Elephant pigment ink. And I really originally thought I would maybe stamp this with an acrylic block, but I think that the results will be much better if I use a stamp positioner tool. I have already die cut my frame from some silver metallic cardstock. This frame is from the Mama Elephant Dotted Detail die. We're going to do an inlay. This is one of my very favorite techniques. You've probably seen me do it before if you follow my channel. I do it a lot with a die from Simon Says Stamp. This is a very similar die from Mama Elephant, but it has dotted detailing in that frame. You can really see it on the metallic cardstock. This is a really good chance to add interest to that frame. So you'll see that here in a minute. But it's going to give me a guide to know where to line up the word prayers. I'm going to go ahead and shut my MISTI and pick up the sentiment. I will lay everything back out. I like to always double check multiple times. We're going to move everything out of the way then and stamp our greeting on the background. Part of the reason I switched from the acrylic block to the MISTI is I'm able to stamp this then multiple times, one on top of another, to darken that up without stamping it in black ink. We're going to stamp the smaller phrase in black ink, but I really wanted that word prayers in a dark gray that really goes nicely with the whole theme and style and occasion of this card. So let's stamp the first phrase, which is "You are in my," and we're going to stamp that with black VersaFine ink. The thing about this is I kind of had to mix and match this because the next phrase has the word "my" in it as well. And I don't need to stamp "my" twice, so I'll just be doing a little masking with Post-it tape so that I don't stamp that twice. I love that with the Blessed stamp set, you can mix and match these greetings to really fit whatever occasion. The larger scripty words are prayers, blessings, lucky, and blessed. And so it'll work for lots of different occasions, which is fantastic. Now we're going to take that dotted detail frame die and we're going to die cut that little thin frame from our background panel. Our background panel is A2 sized, meaning it's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inches. We want to pop that out of our die. We have already die cut the silver frame, so we're going to do an inlay. And my favorite way to do this is to apply my adhesive directly to my card base. In this case, it's a top fold card base. And I'm going to be pretty generous because we're doing inlay and I want everything to stay put. We're going to start with the outer frame, this little thin frame here, and pop that in place on our card. Then we are going to put our little thin frame in and finish with the inside panel. If you don't want to do inlay, you can leave your outside panel as is, pop that on your card, die cut this thin frame, and just pop it in place over the top. I just love the look of inlay, and I think it looks so seamless and pretty. It's just takes a tiny little bit more effort, but it's really worth it. Now we're going to attach our cute little critters underneath. This is a card that came together so super fast, and by simply changing up the greetings you use, changing up the background colors maybe, You can change up the images. You could create all kinds of different cards with this same design right here. I am a big fan of designs that can be used for multiple occasions. We're going to finish the card with a little scattering, with drawing in some little highlights and things on the critters and images. We're going to pop our bumblebee in place, and then I simply took a black fine tip pen and drew a little bee detail right there along the top edge of the card. And that's going to finish it off. And I think the little bee just adds to the sweet feel of the card. The muted colors work really well for the sympathy prayers type greeting that we're going for here. Thank you guys so much for joining me today for this sympathy and prayers critters card featuring Mama Elephant stamps and dies. The supplies I used to create my card are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Here are a couple more cards featuring Mama Elephant stamps and dies that you might be interested in. Thank you guys so much for joining me today, and we'll see you next time.